So I have just now told that is the material, it has a process, it has the application. With this particular triangle, we have to actually go with the engineering and management. But what I will actually going to deal with today, I'll deal with today is this 4 segment of Indian knowledge system in the construction practice, the Nirman. And these 4 are the applicable area. Probably I can think this as a kind of a thought area, or the thinkers that actually give us in a particular way. One is the material sensitive construction, how they actually use the material and use it for the construction, and the best material is used for the best purpose. That is the sustainability. Next one is a structure sensitive construction, that when I evolve, I need a new type of new type of building to construct, or any kind of the object to construct. I have to think that how the structure can be hold. Climate sensitive, it is always there when the human being actually enter into a cave. The home is a cave. It is a climate sensitive, particularly climate sensitive, and also from the protection from the wild animal. So that kind of this is the very first. I should write it actually, maybe the first, but this is the very first one. And last one is the activity sensitive. That we will also see how activity change the design pattern and the construction pattern. So these are the typical parameter that in modern times we say that what is the density of the material, what is the strength, tensile strength, what is this and that. And these are actually taken care of in domain, and we'll see that this will be actually the strength and ductility will be in a, they have used for the structure sensitive areas where there is a the span, there is a huge amount of loading and all. This porosity, water absorptions, those are actually they import into the durability, life cycle materials, and those kind of a maintenance point of view. The density and the hardness, if you see all the temple architecture, the carvings and all, so they have chosen those kind of stones from the density and the hardness point of view, from the point of view of the decorative features, and also the time of construction, the total project time, manpower requirement, and all those kind of things. The thermal expansion, the thermal conductivity, etc. has taken care of the climate sensitive part, and those are the indoor acoustical quality, which also imported in some of the palaces of, if you see in the Rajputana, I mean the Rajasthans and all, they have also imparted those kind of the properties, they have influence of those properties. So in the Vedic period, if you see, in nutshell, if you see in that particular era, the quality of the housing is the measure of the development. It was since then that we have actually imported in the quality of housing is a measure of the development. And there are a lot of Vedas, and particularly the Atharva Vedas, which actually given some kind of, in between I must say that I am still a learner, and this is a huge subject. And the one biggest, I may say just the lack of in me is that I do not know Sanskrit, because by my virtue of my education do not allow me to learn that particular subject. Where I was, I mean, in my school days or so, there was no option to take that particular subject. So that is one of the biggest difficulty. But hopefully, with the things I'm still learning, still see what are the things are taken there, and that can be brought forward. So those are the signs, the Sthapatta Kala and all. So those are still was there. Now if I see this particular, the housing character of the early Vedic period, basically it was started with a circular manner. The circular manner is that, why? Because circle is one of the geometrical form which can be actually placed in the site very easily. It's very difficult to actually create a square in a land, because a square and rhombus both are having all 4 edges equal, but square has equal diagonal and they are perfectly 90 degree. So keeping that, I may actually, when I go for any building layout, its square may become a rhombus. I may not find it. I mean, it may look like a square, but there is a 1 inch some problem, and it may be deformed as a rhombus. But in case, I mean, the circle is the easiest one. You need a nail or something like that and a thread, and then this will be definitely a perfect circle. So they started with a circle, and using that particular circle, they gradually built they gradually go for the formation of the square. It is very easy to draw in AutoCAD or any software, or maybe in my drawing sheet a circle or so, or maybe a square or whatever, rectangle. It's very difficult in the ground. Very difficult in the ground, and the ground is always not flat. Ground is always not a very leveled or so. It may be with kitcher, makra and this and that, lot of stones and also. Where it is measuring circle, the square and all those things is very difficult. So that was the first. They start with a circular and plan, and circular plan with a conical shape with a thatched bamboos and all, and then gradually they go for this kind of the shape modification. So circle has some, of course, some kind of the disadvantage also from the internal point of view. So if you not only the India, if you go to anywhere, you go to African the civilizations and all, they started with a circle and then gradually compartmentalize the circle in a different room form, and so on. In the central portion is their kitchen or something like that. So in India also it was gradually formed like that, and gradually it has come down to this kind of a shape, that's square and the rectangle and the deep rectangle. And by virtue of this, there was over the times this kind of changes instead of the conical or spherical roof, conical to spherical roof. Spherical, when it is come to a particular rectangular shape, it has extended, so it's making a kind of a cylindrical kind of a roof. And this cylindrical kind of a roof, when it was developed, you can see it can be one of the creation of that particular the Buddhist architecture, where there is a Chaitya and all those things has been formed. So gradually it was developed like this. Building materials point of view also, they mostly used mud and the ribs, or this kind of the wooden things. Both are very climate the energy sensitive. Probably that time they do not know that kind of energy problem and all, but and maybe they do not know what is concrete and what is reinforcement and what is plastic and all, but still with the mud, and still people are using mud and all those kind of things, and it is very good material. Of course, with the mud I cannot construct a high-rise building, definitely so, but in a particular kind of arena we can actually still exploit the mud. Mud only requires some kind of a stabilization. Those days they use sand, lime and sand, dry leaf, husk of paddy as a stabilizer, and they also use the plastering material also. If you see, I mean, that actually changes. Suppose in Vedic period there is a kind of a people are living in a particular society. The king of the society, not king, the mukhiya of the society, and their houses are maybe that particular what can I say, that where they actually come and discuss and all, that particular structure sometimes have the kind of the plaster. That kind of plaster, and plaster was found to be as a the gypsum and those kind of a plaster was that type time it was used. Also they have used some kind of the earthen blocks which is much more stabilized, and they have used this kind of the trifala as one of the type of the additive that can be give a particular better bonding and all those kind of things. It was transferred in the later period, which is more or less when it is going to be the Mauryan period. The timber came into the play. Timber came into the play. When there is a timber came into the play, the carpentry has been evolved. and due to the carpentry of the evolve and the timber came into the play, language of architecture is also going to change. See, whenever there is any new material will come, it is the construction people will recommend the material, and then probably the architect will start thinking how can I best use that particular material for any purpose. So the language of architecture change. Suddenly they can think of using timber, I can go little higher in level, I can have 2 floors or maybe multi floors kind of a thing. And then there is something like a kind of a society, or now a big society, and the kingdom is coming to the picture, so they need some kind of a secure kind of the arrangement, so they go for some kind of a bastion, gates and all those kind of a structure which is much more required much more stronger material. So instead of mud, they believe in stone and timber. There are some, so this particular effect of the material, still we can see some of the vernacular architecture. The vernacular architecture means the architecture which doesn't be, I mean it's generation after generation that is flowing. No one which is having kind of a degree of architecture or maybe a scientific knowledge of architecture is going to impart or do a particular hut which maybe my forefather has been constructed. Now I have having some problems, so I made something change. My son or my grandson has another set of changes or so. So gradually that particular dhara, that particular the dhara of the architecture is called the vernacular architecture, where no scientific things has been imparted. Probably we went to the villages, we went to those areas of where the so-called people are living, and we put some measurement and see, yes, this is very good, this is very good, like that we did. But there is no such of kind of scientific, as such scientific intervention. They are much more climate friendly and the material friendly.